Yes, it's fine. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All are here.
Everybody except for Mr. Ford, who said he would not be able to.
So, I guess it's number 4.
We
But
can, if we want to, if Budget Committee wants to elect a chair from your own group.
I nominate Tom.
I nominate Luke Way.
Like race school decline.
What's wrong with the job? I'm new.
I'll nominate Brian.
I'll second that.
I looked at that. Yeah, sure. Do it? Yes. Sweet.
All in favor?
Yep. For a quick recap of what we have for the rest of our budget process. Today we will, we're looking to go over a couple of departments we went over last meeting that we've made some minor adjustments to, and then we will look at recreation, social services, assessor, auditor, debt service, pension, animal control, EMA, and dispatch. There's a lot of things that we want. And that will leave for our final meeting. We will have on 3/19, we'll go over fire, police, rescue, public works, transfer, and county tax. And at that meeting as well, we will go back through all of the departments and be looking for a final number to set by department. There's a separate vote per department by the budget committee, by the council, that would be the formal recommendation on the warrants to be drafted. After that, we will schedule a public hearing for April 6th, at which time we will hold a public hearing, and the council will approve the final wording on the warrant for the numbers that we set and vote on the 19th. Then we get it to ballot. So that's kind of where we are and where we're going. Today, if I can jump right in for... yes.
Sir.
I can't call you chair anymore.
I would like to go, first of all, get the numbers today. So what was estimated to be collected this year and what is actually spent.
You want the total head number, or do you want me to run the report for department? We have one.
I want the total number.
This is what has been expended. The total that we projected to be spending, what was budgeted for this year, $2,729,235. This date has been spent $1,888,430.80. That's leaving us with an unexpended balance to date of $840,904.20. And the percent spent as of today is 69.19% of our annual budget.
What's the total expenditure going to come at and project according to those figures? Yes, what are we expecting to spend by those, yes, we're budgeting, but what are we going to spend by projection?
We are not going to spend more than is budgeted. It's not allowed. And as far as revenues go, we had projected, and this number includes it includes numbers that we can't include in our revenues that we thought today, because it includes the Betty and the homestead exemption, which when we're putting our proposed budget out, we don't include those numbers because they're part of the mill rate calculation. So this, the report after the homestead and the Betty are included as to what we're expecting to collect for the year that we're in is $1,125,897.31. Now remember, that's revenues that are not tax revenues. That's why it's less than the expenditures. We have so far collected $880,240.63, leaving an uncollected balance of $245,656.68. We are currently at 78% collected.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Anything else? No? You guys good? So when you came in on your seats, there was an updated narrative that speaks to kind of where we are and some of the changes that we still have going on. We do have a final proposal from the school budget and what that impact may be. That again, like the homesteads, those are going to come in not within our budget, but attributed after our budget. Their proposal is about $94,000 increase even after all the additional state revenue. Changes to the homestead, again, those will come in after. What we did last year, which I would like to do, but I don't have the abilities to run that mill rate calculation sheet that we ran, which actually auto-populated based on our budget and what we anticipated our values to be. The changes that are coming in January 1st for the changes to homestead will not, it's a preset spreadsheet. When they're changing the amount of homestead value and the percentage of our compensation rate, we'll be able to update that, release it. Previous year, changes to homestead. Last year, this is 19 sheet, changes to it. This year, and drop map, we had some more staffing changes last met. Why I would like to revisit just a couple of departments, structural changes that are there. I've also included in that packet, as a member of MMA, we can get in and see the voluntary survey of what all the wages been earning for all the towns, members of the association. If they provide the information, so I went through any more missions and departments that other towns carry. I tried to squeeze it down to all of the towns that offer similar wage statements for the positions we have, planning board, appeal force, and their council. I also added in the select board to kind of see the difference there. Again, it's not every town under the sun. What towns offer the information to them. Transportation, public works, see based on population and communities around us what their sit down with those departments.
Great information, thank you.
So if there's nothing right here, you want to, well, you got your rec ahead of time. So in the back of your packet, Tuesday, I only did the other sheet, and then the breakdown. And I didn't do all of the individual programs for that.
Yeah, first of all, we are pinch hitting for yesterday there. We got asked to pinch hit for this meeting. What we're looking for this year, 2020, 21 budget, would be a town fund contribution of $23,000. Typically, I know in years past, I understand the town's got $2,500 per year. Last year, 75 was approved, initially approved, was revised down to 5,000. And there was 55 allocated for work. So based on some of the feedback we got from townspeople, one of the things we looked at with trying to make a capital improvement for the town was taking that snack shack building, repairing the damage that's existing, and building it back in a way that it's set up for the long haul on a concrete slab, access to water, reconfigure the bathrooms to make them a little more practical. So we've had two contractors down there, and right now we've got full value for that to get that building the way it should be, set up for the long haul capital improvement for the town. Would be 23,000 that we're requesting. And within that, there has been a food program down there. The provisions would still be there. It hasn't been used in many years. The provisions for that would continue if that ever came to fruition again. Those provisions would be in place. But right now, it would be to use that space that's currently not being used for storage, because there's a lot of equipment scattered throughout different buildings. It's hard to keep track of that, so we'll consolidate it, use that for food service area for storage. Once the equipment is slab, all the deteriorated wood falls out.
The rec coordinator that you had, that she left, and we gave you the rest of her salary, $12,500. What was it? $7,500. Did you already spend that?
For this coming, not in it.
Would that be used also, that amount of money for the new building?
What's that? The
Wages. It's okay. It's okay.
I'm just trying to see where, maybe see what you're saying.
I see the other $7,500. It's down at the very bottom to the right.
Yeah, I believe it is the under.
So if I'm correct in hearing, you're going to build a brand new building on a slab, and you're going to use the building as part of the scope.
No, if I misspoke or misled you, my apology. The majority of that structure will remain. It's really the floors and some of the walls that have sustained damage because it's all woven under there. So the majority of the structure would remain. It's just to repair the damage, concrete slab, properly install the plumbing and the water. The electricity would remain as in good shape, it's in a good location.
Is there already water disposal system located at that shed?
Yeah, it has two bathrooms.
There was a concern of Lloyd.
I don't know if it's been officially looked at, but I know that's a concern, and I know when Jay had the two different contractors down there, I know he told me that's one of the things that he looked at. I don't know findings or the results of those, but obviously if you have water and wood damage like this down there, it's always a concern.
How large is this building?
I'm going to tell you roughly, yes, 20 by 20 maybe. Maybe a little bigger, but
When the townspeople voted to allocate the funds, 15,000, in addition to the 5,000 for the direct loan with gas. That didn't include the expense of the municipal side taking care of the finance and everything. Is that going to change any, or what's the plan? You're going to take care of it and stuff?
Yeah, I'm going to handle the financial side of it.
So that's an expense over and above what we're seeing here, correct?
I don't think that was ever her responsibility.
Correct. So, can I
I
jump
don't
in?
think she was ever going to.
The rec coordinator?
Right.
She was, and she was doing a lot of the packaging for. So when the person in the position did move on, they came back to us. We met with Justin and Jay as well to figure out if we weren't going to fill the position like they'd ask again, a way that we could limit as much as we could the role that the staff was doing here, at the same time still hitting the basic check marks on the requisitions and the PO process. So what we've gotten to now is Rec is running their own financial accounting through an online QuickBooks that we have access to. So they're doing a lot of their own data entry, the stuff that Ashley was doing, and it's saving Lisa from having to do a lot of the bulk work of it. So now we're doing minimal processing POs and doing the reconciliations by logging into their accounts that their volunteers are putting the work into. What we really weren't able to do is to find a way to get volunteers to do the accounting and bookkeeping in our software. This is kind of the happy medium. So we're doing, I don't want to say minimal work, but we're doing much less than the town is doing much less than we were previously, handling a lot of the money. So there's still residual workload, but it is less than what we had prior, because the volunteers are picking up more, doing their own work and their own budgeting through their own QuickBooks, and then just letting us reconcile it once the months are over.
So is the position correct for the coordinator of the city? Or is that going?
That has gone away on the town side. When she did give her notice, rec committee came to the council and opted not to fill that position again. and we, at the same time, asked for and approved the money that was left over for salary to be able to be used within this fiscal year if we can submit invoices for work orders that would go against it for the building, but it would have to be done by the end of this fiscal year. We wouldn't be able to carry that money over. That would drop into the general fund.
So what you're looking for actually is the 15,000 plus the additional 5,000.
They say last
That
year,
brings us to 20, not 23.
well, last year, we were approved initially for 7,500. But then, by the end of it, we were only approved for 5. So we're asking for that 75, not the 5, plus the and
How is that not approved? I made that motion for the 75.
correct, it was, and then it ended up at a different meeting, getting knocked down to 5.
I believe, if I can remember right, the budget committee approved it at the 75 and the council at 5. So when it went to the voters, it goes with what the council approves, but it's the budget committee recommended differently.
So the vote is actually
Okay.
5,000.
I just wanted to know where.
Yeah, but the budget committee was on record as supporting the 75.
What do you think?
Well, it was from the year before, but there was no representative here.
If I can back up a little bit. We're getting the process, I think, in a better order now, because we've been working to get the rec committee's fiscal year to line up with ours better. So what that puts us at this year. So rec committee has their operating budget, which the council approves separate. It's the funds that they raise through their own operations. So it's their revenues that are not tax appropriated, so the voters don't vote on it. But because they raise it themselves, the oversight comes from the council. The council approves their budget independently of the voters, much like they do with the water fund. So they have a standalone budget that will be last year, we were trying to get it right. We had a rec committee budget approved prior to the budget committee. When they February, I think the rec committee budget approved. Now that we're getting it, I think, more effectively on this cycle, now before the council approves the rec committee operating budget, we'll have a better idea of what comes out of the budget process, so that we won't have that kind of cart before the horse thing we had last year. So they won't get a budget approved last year with $7,500 from the taxpayers, but that didn't make it through the budget process. Now by the time whatever happens with their budget this year, we have time for rec to go back, update their budget, what's going on the warrants before the council will see it, potentially the April meeting, May meeting at the latest for their fiscal year to start, July 1.
I have one more question. What are the proposed projects rec is going to do? I know they had some field renovations that they wanted to do as well, so.
Yeah, we actually, late last fall, we redid the infield on the second field infield, as well as the forward field as well. We put in that Cobra infield mix. We had it leveled, we cut the grass back. We did that on both fields. We're looking, if we get approval from the RSU, we're going to try to get the softball league back in town, which generate revenue for the rec department. And there's miscellaneous bench repairs in there, and yeah, we've already started the process. It's not official yet, set up with different configurations. That's one of the projects we're also trying to get completed. We have two very valuable volunteers on that for that. So those type of things are on.
Under this proposal, what would the recreation coordinator position, what would be the general responsibilities and make it different from the previous position that was being posted this past year?
Well, I'm going to tell you in general, Ashley, she was very helpful. I would tell you where it was a really creative position. There was a lot of inefficiencies. So take full ownership on behalf of the rec committee. We probably reset her up. If we set her up as good as we could, probably not. I think there was some of that between rec and the town. Okay, these are her tasks that she has free time. On the day she's here, when is she here? I'm sure she helped the town in some ways as well. And a lot of those duties before that position was approved and volunteers like Jess, Jay, Justin, myself, and kind of got back to that for me in terms of fundraising and getting the communication out to members. Those were a lot of the initial primary responsibilities. We were doing before.
And would those responsibilities be consistent with the position that you're proposing?
Not really. We're not proposing a position.
I think within the write-up, the way it's written, it says formally recreation coordinator position fund.
Yeah, I guess I just.
Hyphen snack shack. So it's
We're trying to use those rec coordinator funds to make capital improvements to that. It's common referred to as a snack.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. So, what was written?
Kind of, right now it's a combination of snack shack, capital, and storage.
You didn't have the adult softball league last week?
Last fall we did, was during the summer, we were unable to do only the one field. We tried it one year like that, and it just didn't work logistically.
Is that your biggest moneymaker, the adult softball league?
I will tell you, it's a big one. Justin could probably speak more factually about what is the biggest one, but I will tell you from what I've seen in my year and a half, 2 years or so in this, it generates as much net profit as anything I've seen in that summer. A lot of it is because other communities have going rates for leagues. And we already have a good foundation here. It all goes back to the rec department. A lot of the volunteers are actually the ones taking care of the field, so we don't have any outside labor coming in. Jay does a hell of a job negotiating with land turf and all that for our product and getting discounts on maintenance agreements, which help with the sprinkler systems and longevity of the grass and the dirt. A lot of municipalities have to pay for that. We're lucky enough to have enough contacts with everybody to not, so that reduces our overheads, which is appropriate.
And the total amount that you've got projected just for the snack shack improvement
Is 22.5.
and this is a one-year thing?
Yeah, we had two different contractors down there, and that was the numbers that they came back.
Are they dropping it on the slab, or they're going to set the existing floor on the slab, or
No,
they're
no.
going to jack it up, essentially
As
pull
far
the
as the
floor
jack
out,
process, what I envision having is jacking it up, putting the slab.
moving the bottom
The
still?
floor in the lower level with that's damaged on the interior and exterior,
installed directly on the concrete? Because right now, you're storing the turf machine.
Yeah, four-wheeler, yeah.
So, but this will put them on concrete, you don't have to worry about them.
Yeah, and then again, that concrete floor on that side was, we didn't want to do, we didn't want to budget half that money and have to revisit this in 8 years. Because there's just nothing that really,
How much money do you expect, say this snack shack's up and running, how much revenue do you see coming in for the rec department from the snack shack?
From the snack shack, it's my understanding, because it hasn't been run in a while, it's my understanding when it was running, it basically operated out of us. And that's kind of why, it's kind of gone away. Volunteerism, and a lot of times if you're budgeting for X amount, it's not like it's going to be open the next day and you can sell that product. So, it gets given away or thrown away. That's my understanding.
A lot of these folks are going.
Yeah. Yeah, but we did want to leave the provisions in there just in case something changed down the road. So all the provisions for the food service equipment will be in there. You better understand, push it again, but like I say, it's my understanding. From what I've heard, and that will operate that on schools also.
So, what we have in the budget in front of us is 5 within the recreation department. Because of the usage, and I think because you are rolling it into the building as a capital improvement, I think it would be more effective if we were going, whatever we're putting in, because all you are asking for is capital improvement, that we pull it out of the rec department, and we roll it into the recreation CIP account, so that it would actually roll up into CIP in general. That would also be putting it away as a savings account, whether or not there's any overages on any expenditures, or if there are any remainders, it would stay in the capital improvement account. We already have a line account set up with a zero balance, but for the snack shack. But I think it would make more sense because it's a strictly capital improvement to pull it out of the operating budget and put it into the CIP budget. Does that make sense?
Yeah, all that funding will be towards capital improvements.
So if we go right into the CIP, what amount are you talking about rolling into 4.3?
That's kind of the conversation we're at, but I think structurally, whatever number we land at, I think the CIP would be the most effective place to put it.
And you plan on spending $7,500 as a down payment or something, just so you can use it up?
On the other?
Yes.
Honestly, Lou, I would...
Before it rolls into the general fund?
Yeah, I would, that's the goal. Anything we can do for these kids in this town. But as far as specific plans, I think it's leading a little, I told you what they were tonight, they adjusted, they did a lot of this on their own time, not at meetings. So as far as what that's earmarked for, I would get you that.
I don't need the answer, I'm just making a suggestion.
Oh, absolutely. I gave you loud and clear, my friend.
So if this is the case, we would probably be looking at the 7,500 that was suggested last year, if we know 7,500, and the other 15,000 would go into CIP. Probably work it that way. Again, it's a question.
Would we roll it all into the CIP?
That's how they want it.
We've already paid the salary, one paid that salary, one addition. Gave them a $5,000 capital improvement, that would give them $20,000. They'd be a lot closer than where they are today. Still have that salary from that could be allocated to it. That would be $7,500.
Well, the 7,500 needs to be used up before, I think.
Like June 30th.
Oh, June, sorry.
So if that's already allocated from this contract, then they would be, you guys would be just fine.
Well, I cannot tell you that the 75 that for this fiscal is not accounted. Again, I don't know that, I picture that, but at this point in time, I don't know. If you're saying the 15 plus the 75 we have left over, is that what you're saying? I understand.
And that would cover everything that you have going. And I was talking 5,000 extra for a capital improvement campaign, which would be your normal.
So it's 20 for.
Right. So they'd be getting 20 plus with it for 75.
Rick, are you allowed to do that? If you give him $20,000, but you say that it's for a salary, then he goes and uses it on a building, is that allowed?
No, I'm just saying that's the money that was allocated last year.
Oh, okay,
Over
you're just
a
gonna
different setup.
change it to a, okay.
Just
You
a
take
dollar.
salary money and change it to another type, okay, gotcha.
If we were a bank and you came to us, wanted to build a building that's going to be minimally, possibly unoccupable, what would you do? You'd say no. I want to give you money, I do. And believe me, I have such respect for the work that you people do and you don't get paid for it at all. But I don't know what you guys are going to do. You want to give them $23,000 and put some in the CIP and we can use that all.
Well, I think the funds go way beyond just these ball fields and that building.
I agree.
They do an awful lot
Yes, they do.
for the kids, the surrounding area, not just this town.
Yeah, it's the future, but I think that's well understood within our community as well as outside.
Yeah, I'll tell you long before I was involved with this, you know, the Mechanic Falls, the town and the rec department certainly has a good reputation of, you know, being willing to work with other communities, you know, as long as it benefits the kids, whether it's, you know, round robin soccer, baseball, or whatever it is, helping with advice for building and field maintenance. So, and to your point, it does go a lot further than this problem.
And it was less fun than any of us surrounding areas get.
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
Keep in mind, up until last year, as I understand it, it was $2,500 a year to really, you know, operate about $100,000
Yeah.
entity, if you will. So to your point about the bank thing, I would look at that.
Yeah, I know. But that's how some people are going to see it.
No, I get it, but it's a
The
capital
building
improvement.
isn't like it's not, like they're gonna build a building and it's just gonna sit there, right? I mean, it has bathrooms in it and you put
Storage.
equipment in it.
Storage. Yep.
Because there's actually loss on some extent, as hard as we try, you know, you have this equipment in this corner of this building. We are trying to eliminate, not all of that, but a lot of it, the stuff's spread all around. So we're hoping by default, you know, you'd save a few bucks here and there, and you don't have to go into shin guards or mats for the kids, because they're, you know, the majority of the rental are including in that building. Including bathrooms for when you have the tournaments, and you have a lot of people here, you know,
So it is capital improvement, it's not just
Yeah.
fixing a building that's sitting there. It's updates to
to your home, it has to sit down.
We had another question. Why are you trying to repair the building with a concrete cheap just raise that building? Just build 24 by 24 garage?
Well, I will tell you, it very well may be. I have not seen the breakdown of quotes, but it is not my understanding that that's what they would do now. Is there more to it than I may be explaining possibly? But I will tell you for the next meeting, we have detailed breakdowns.
Yeah, that works for me.
No problem, we have those on the contracts.
So by consensus, we're gonna put, total is 23 in the recreation CIP to be used for the storage snack shack.
I think it makes more sense.
I do too. Would make more sense if we could get on it instead of pushing you guys for the April meeting. We're going to be doing public hearing and the warrant articles as well. Hold off approving the rec budget until the May meeting. That'll still give you a year. April, May, I don't know what day the May meeting is, but that'll put us about a month before your fiscal year. It'll give us kind of closer to the beginning of the year, but it'll get us beyond the budget. The baseball. When do you start writing out of those? Okay. Yeah, we can run it on the April 6th meeting. If you guys are good with that. That will get us the approval before baseball. And then we can work into that annual calendar we have, knowing that if you guys are really going to start that mid-April, that'll probably be the best one. Might as well do the whole thing if you've got soccer and basketball as well. If we can. Right. Right. And that's it. So if we could just do it once, April every year, after we know what's going to be on the warrant article for you, so you guys don't have surprises when you write yours, then we'll have everything in the best order we can get.
So if we're putting 23,000 in the CIP for this, are we saying that there is going to be no rec budget?
Yep, they're not asking for money for programming, so what I would
Okay.
do is I'd zero out the rec programming department budget for all the under CIP. You can draw down on it for all the programs. We good with rec?
Do we want to carry on with this, or are we good with the way we are?
To what extent?
Looking for a motion possibly?
So what we can do when we run through, at least for today, if you want to do it by consensus, we will redraft everything before the next budget meeting,
Whose motion is that?
and then we'll do all the motions
Okay.
at the end, because we still have to we'll do more work on the fly if there are changes to next meeting's budgets, but we can change it, and we'll do all the motions at the end. So if we're operating on consensus, everyone's good, we'll make the changes for
Do
the
you want to
CIP.
vote on consensus? No.
Can we have the contractor's numbers? Can we see those for,
Is that something you guys?
When do you need that by?
so we
19th.
can see it when the next
Yep.
meeting, when
Oh,
we
when?
see this.
Or if you email it to me at some point in time, I can kick it out to you guys so you can review them ahead of time, so you don't have to sit here and try and iron through it. Thank you, guys.
Well, set?
You guys good with them?
All good?
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
So if I can jump back to the additional safety officer, safety compliance officer that I put in front of you, it is a zeroed budget. So,
I like that number. Can we do that with the rest of them?
some of them,
How
yeah.
about taxes significantly?
So after that one will be the new code number, code enforcement sheet that was on the desk today, not the one that's in your book. And to start that conversation, also in the packet, I got you the results from the survey for code enforcement, for salaries and additional duties and titles that people carry as well in those positions. So what we would be doing is we are taking, and it's a net gain for us, by zeroing the safety compliance officer budget and adding that role back to code enforcement. We are going to bump code enforcement from its current 73 hours per week up to a full 40 hours a week, adding the extra duties as well. And then we're going to use most of the money, but not all of it, to bump that salary up that scale a little bit from where you see it says current to the proposed line, kind of in the salary scale. It puts us a little bit more in the middle. Talking to other code enforcement officers around when we were just starting our search, kept getting the impression that we were not going to get a lot of applicants or applicants with more experience. We're definitely not going to be poaching code enforcement officers from other communities with the salary that we were offering. So that is going to be the new proposal. It's a net gain of about $800 saved from safety officer for what we're not adding to the code officer, which is extra training and office supplies that code already has in their budget. And you can see on the proposed line there are more than just a plumbing inspector title that we do carry. Our code enforcement officer is also appointed as the building inspector, the health officer. Their role in that is when we have unsafe homes, if people are living in facilities that are not safe. It's not the code enforcement officer that is condemning buildings, it's actually the health officer that's going in. Same person currently, but we're wearing different hats when they do it. And then safety compliance officer is really going to be going back to really what was on there before. And this is more of maintaining our Department of Labor safety, quarterly safety meetings, and keeping those records for us as well. It is something that we were doing 2 years ago under that position, so it was a similar thing. The same person had that standalone stipend position as well. The opportunity was to leave it as a stipend position and use that extra money to kind of sweeten the pot for a new code enforcement coming in, but we would not be kind of advertising and hiring someone at that higher salary. By doing this, we have a little bit of savings, and I think it'll be at least a little bit more alluring, hopefully, for potential applicants, because the salary will look higher, not us having to explain, yeah, well, but you also get this extra stipend. And it, HR, payroll-wise, makes it a little more straightforward. Any questions on that one?
Could you just combine all of that? I guess you're combining code enforcement with,
Building inspector and plumbing inspector.
and does that move them to a full-time position?
They are currently full-time technically at 37 hours, but everybody on this floor, we're full-time at 37 hours and not 40. So it's a little bit of a trade-off. We're bumping them up for the extra 3 hours. The extra work that would come with it would be filled in during the week as well.
And so at the 37 hours, the code enforcement, are they receiving all, benefits and insurance?
Anything over what, 32?
Anything over 36 hours a week.
Okay, thank you.
we dropped, is there any reason why we're dropping the electrical off of this job?
Possibly. And that's kind of a little bit more based on who the applicants are. Plumbing is a little more simple. There's the opportunity that we can pull more of it back in, but it's kind of going to be based on how easy it's going to be able to attract someone that has those qualifications already. And if we're not anticipating in year one, it would potentially be the opportunity for a step or additional training when they get into that process.
So who's going to do that in the meantime?
No.
No, you can't.
State.
No.
Or we can still...
Electrical inspector? You can't be an electrical inspector, of course you can.
No, I can't, not if I'm on the town council. And I don't want the job. But if you want to have somebody that can do all of the inspecting, he has to have a license. Fred can do residential, or was doing residential, but not commercial.
And commercial can always go out back where it is now. And the state inspector can come in first, you know.
Yeah, but if the town has a lot of commercial development in the next few years, you're going to lose that. I'd like to know what the fee was for Hannaford's.
We were talking about that. We know it was
I did a couple of small jobs, one at the school and I put the sugar shack. And those two little jobs were $300 for the state. If you had, well, even the hotel must have been pretty good for them. At $54,000, are we gonna get somebody like that? No,
You know,
I don't think so. I don't think there's too many electricians that's gonna want to take on inspecting. And I don't know if it's possible to have somebody on standby, maybe somebody that's retired, but I'm not retired yet, so I can't do that.
we have anybody in
Keith,
town.
did you want the job?
No. I've already been there.
So, yeah, my whole question about asking this is that's going to be an additional cost up and beyond what this $54,000 is going to be. And what is that stipend going to be to that individual for the first year, possibly the second year, if they don't get licensed? Into the third year.
If they do residential, all they have to do is get a certificate from the state. Commercial, you have to have a master's license. And I don't know how you're going to get anyone to do that. I mean, I think probably the best thing to do is just do the same thing as Fred was doing. He can do the residential and then let the state do the rest of it.
And I think that is what we're looking at on the list comparison. When they're listing electrical inspector, it would be commercial inspector. For the building inspector side of it, it's there, and the expectation for the certificate residential side is but not the commercial side. That would be kind of what we're doing now. We're bringing in the state.
Now, Auburn has electrical inspector. He has a master's license, but he takes care of traffic lights, a lot of other stuff. I don't think the town of Mechanic Falls is really at that point yet. For hiring somebody for a full-time job.
And I agree that a lot of residential growth within this community than it would be commercial. I don't really see a lot of commercial growth.
We had a conversation too about the potential of keeping some of those fees in town by having someone on staff that can be a commercial electrical inspector. But I think it's kind of a stretch for us
I think Lou is right that there's not, in the near future, there's not enough commercial work that's going to pay for electric.
I don't see that coming in the horizon. Only one project that's coming, that's going to be state.
Any other thoughts on the code enforcement? New? So, if we want to catch up where we left off, we would be going to social services and welfare, which is after recreation. So we were anticipating a reduction there based on what our historics were. We're ballpark $4,000-ish in actuals.
So you're recommending not putting in these agencies also?
Those are standard ones that have come in. It would be nice, but we haven't done it in the past years. No comments or suggestions? We want to move to assessors.
Go on that. What is the other services that are provided? Is it all this stuff below?
So it is not all the stuff below. So other services, that is actually the money that we budget to put out when, so the top part is the contracted service, that's salary or stipend for the GA administrator that administers the GA funds. The 5,000 below is the GA funds that we do put out. So people who come to us for rent assistance or heat assistance as a last resort, that's where that money comes out of. And it is matched by the state to be half of it's covered by the state. Others falling under contracted rate. So if you look at the sheet that was in the front that has the vertical brown lines, which is the 3-year kind of breakout comparison or change for the expenses, you can see our historics for the social services side of it. what is that first year? 2015? 2015, yep. 2015-16, what we actually paid out was about $1,600. Year after was $2,000, $3,500. So we're not coming near what we can budget for.
That money goes back into the general fund.
Any other thoughts on that one? Assessor hasn't changed. I can jump beyond. Auditor did change. There was a reduction last year because of the amount of borrowing we were doing from federal funds between the water line extension and 22 Pleasant Street. We were anticipating having to get a single audit, which was an additional fee. If we cross a certain amount of borrowed federal money within a certain within one fiscal year, we'd qualify for that single audit. We'd have to have them come back and essentially do a double audit of those federal funds. We did not cross that threshold, but we did budget for it last year. So since we're not borrowing on the federal money in the upcoming year, we will not need to pay for that additional audit. Beyond that, contingency is what it sounds like. Anything external that is not budgeted for. Any overruns that we may have within small departments would come out of contingency. We're running about a $10,000 balance.
Can you elaborate on what those were spent on this past year? Fund change.
I was not here for the adjustment. Do you remember what we had?
It's usually something that might come up during the year that we weren't counting on, like maybe an emergency repair or
Rubber roof. Years ago.
no, that was in,
It's common to pay for that fund, yeah.
oh, there are years we never touch it. There are other years when we have had to dip into it for a few thousand. I can only remember one time I think it was something 5 or 10. It's not usually an every year type of thing. It's just there in case there's an emergency.
If you look at the budget summary, it'll give you the actuals for 16, FY17 and 18, and for contingency in 16-17 we spent $7,500. 17-18 we used the whole 10, but in 18-19 we only used 1,700 of it. And any remainder does drop to the general fund, which then goes to the applied from fund balance line for the next budget. So my favorite is the next one, debt service. Joke. So the biggest changes to this one, if you see the top of the page, is that $411,000 increase in our debt service. This is that paid down of the 22 Pleasant Street from the funds that we have left over. So you can see that as the third line down, the rural development bond principal pay down for 22 Pleasant is $396,200. Those are the extra funds that we borrowed this year. And we have to get voter approval for us to make that one lump sum pay down for the money that we didn't use renovating the building, to just pay down that note. And again, if 22 Pleasant Street sells, all of those proceeds would go directly towards paying down and hopefully clearing that bond in general. Once that does happen, we would lose the rest of it, which is the second line, the rural development bond payment for 22 Pleasant Street. We are budgeted for $41,000 a year, and that is our standing balance. $708,000 is the balance of that bond. So once we get through voters approved to make that pay down with the money we have in the bank, if we sell the building and the whole $700,000 goes away, we will be saving ourselves $41,000 a year by not having that payment anymore. The other one to keep an eye on is the first one, the town office renovation bond. We are in year 17 of 20. That is $37,000 a year. Within 2 years, we will drop that one off just by paying it off in full, and that'll be another savings of $37,000 a year that we're not paying in that loan payment as well. So we're coming up to the term on that. There is a new one on this. What dropped off from last year's budget was the road paving bond. We have been paving roads once every 5 years by borrowing $500,000 every 5 years. We were really hoping to try and ease our way off from credit and just funding it ourselves, picking away at it. Where we weren't comfortable starting it this year without bonding, so we are going to run the same scenario and request voters to bond another $500,000 to do a large chunk of roads. And then in next year's CIPs, start trying to put a little bit more towards doing little projects so that we're not just ignoring our roads and just patching potholes for 5 years, but we can start easing our way off it. So hopefully when we pay off this 5-year bond, we don't necessarily have to borrow it again. Essentially, we are just throwing away money. Yes, we'll get a better deal on the paving projects by bonding every 5 years and doing $500,000 at a time, but we're paying interest on the money. When we're paying it off in 5 years, we're paying $100,000 a year anyway. If we could do $120,000 in paving every year, we're not paying interest. And would be putting more into the roads instead of into our interest payments.
Do you have specific projects in mind, or is this just overall general improvement of roads?
We have specific roads in mind, and what we're doing this year to kind of prepare for building out the rest of the CIP. When you get into the CIPs for the roads, we have all of our roads in town broken down. We are trying to get extra, essentially, estimates for roads that we know we won't necessarily get to this year within the $500,000, but at least we'll have a ballpark price of what it's going to cost so that we can start trying to stagger that out over the next few years so that we're not kind of shooting in the dark. We're also spending a lot more time this year. The guys have been going out and working on kind of learning the process to figure out the unit price themselves. So that they working with Public Works from Poland and some of the paving contractors to get a better idea on how to estimate it internally so that we can start planning for that ourselves and having a better idea of what it may look like and what some of our options are for either newer products. Because again, it's been 5 years since we've paved a road. So.
When we do those paving projects, are we looking to do those in conjunction with nearby communities? So that these paving crews are moving one sometime to a place that's beneficial?
With some of them, yes. And we're still focusing on the local ones. I know in the past years, there've been a little bit more subcontracting, especially if the larger companies get it, they'll still subcontract the people who are doing the paving. And I believe that we've had kind of concerns with quality in the past from that. Not necessarily timing it with local communities, but we are starting earlier this year to try and get better placement in their summer routine so that they're not coming back and trying to squeeze us in when the road is fairly above 40 degrees. So we're trying to get them more towards July, August instead of just having them leave us out until October, November. There was another concern I think we had in the past that it was questionably warm enough for one of the roads that they paved last time they did it.
Are you aware of the state DOTs doing any road improvements in our town this year, or any projects?
We have the last one we got was the bridge on South Main Street. They're gonna resurface that one, and they're doing the retaining wall. Haven't gotten formal notice for a paving project in town, but the roads that we do and the roads that we focus on are all not DOT roads.
Right, no, I'm just as an aside, I just was wondering, if it was the state, that you were the state.
After what they did this year, they haven't told us they're coming back, but they did do that large swath of Pleasant Street this year. And they were struggling with the prices of their bids this year too. And argumentatively our fault, they didn't finish Bolin Road because of our water line extension project. We were kind of in their way for a little bit, and they never finished it, but they're doing from Bolin complaints, just to say it wasn't us.
They were supposed to come back and do the railings on the bridge quite some time ago as well, after they fixed the sidewalks.
Correct.
That never happened either.
No, I saw something about that. I will look into that, because I remember seeing something about doing those railings again. But I know they are doing the retaining wall across from the Baptist Church this year, as well as South Main Street are the only formal notices that we've gotten. But we post those, share those whenever we get those notices. What did I forget on this one? And we are in year 4 of 8 of the mini excavator. That service is not too bad. It has been much more useful. It's a soft track mini excavator that they use for a lot more of our ditching. It moves a lot quicker. It's easier on the roads. Everybody will get a lot of use out of it. And we share with our neighbors. That one's been good for us. We're not paying water for theirs anymore.
So is there a possibility that, I'm just going to quote this out there, is there a possibility that if we pay off that bond, 22 Pleasant Street, it gets sold, if we could take that cash and pay off the remainder of the bond on this building, so it would be totally debt. It would be a one-time hit.
Unfortunately, the bond that we have on this building is through the main bond bank, and they will not let you pay it off early. We looked into that.
That was part of the deal.
The original plan was to try to do that with the purchase of that, and using the loan funds to kind of consolidate everything, but getting into it, the bond bank said no. They've sold it, so us paying it off ahead of time would just disenfranchise the people who invested in the bond. Another reason that the bond bank has it down. Thankfully, the loan that we do have for 22 Pleasant Street, we can pay off whenever. There's no restrictions like that. There's no prepayment penalties. So that we can make go away whenever we send it. And we won't get stuck in there.
And that money will be taken to the whole mill rate. Just plot that in.
If there's excess? Yeah. Any excess from the sale after we clear the standing bond on 22 Pleasant would fall to the general fund, and the next year would be used to lower the burden. I was lying, that was not my favorite line. After debt services, pensions and insurance. So our Northern Benefits medical plan, we are on it's split with our fiscal year. So our fiscal year is July 1 through June 30th. Our insurance plan year starts at the calendar year, January 1. So for the first half of this year, we know exactly what we're going to be paying. And then we essentially budget an increase just for the anticipated second half of next year. This year, when we sat down in October, November, we budgeted for 7% increase in medical for the second half of the year, and it came in to keep all the employees in the same plan. It was a 7.7 7.7 increase instead of a 7% increase. So we opted to keep that same plan. And we are budgeting the same anticipated increase for next year. But it's only half a year, so it's kind of an insulation, at least we know exactly what the first half of our year is going to be.
And who's covered under that plan?
All full-time employees who have not opted out. So we offer a $1,800 opt-out stipend for people who choose not to take the town plan if they already have insurance. But outside of that, anybody who's over 36 hours has health insurance.
So sales have jumped than it has been for the last 3 or 4 years.
And we've been still watching MMA, municipal insurance plans as well. Their jumps are a little bit more. The benefit that we've been seeing from using Northern Benefits and taking the private route is it's more cost effective for us. We're technically offering a much better plan, I think, than our neighbors offer, which has been, I think, key to keeping people here. And we are covering 95% of the expense of it. And again, the lower premiums are coming from, we did a little bit of change on the PPO class, no, we didn't end up doing that one. So we're still running the same PPO program, the lower premiums from working with Northern Benefits, I think, is really being based on the fact we are a kind of a smaller small business group approach instead of being lumped in with MMA's municipality pool, which in itself is on average a much older employee pool, and that kind of pushes the increases on MMA's plans up more with their older population on average than what we traditionally have with our employees. So currently it's working to our benefit. And within that line, we are looking at, you see down towards the bottom, we have our COLA, our 2% COLA again. What we do try and base it off and anchor it is in the 2019 Purchasing Power Index. For 2019, the CPI inflation index was 2%, and that's really what we try and put it at. We don't look at it as raises. It's inflation. It's raw than 2% buying power of a paycheck. So COLA is really just trying to keep anchored. I like to anchor it with inflation so that it's not a raise. People aren't getting more compensation. We're just making sure they can buy the same amount of groceries with their paycheck that they could the year before. It's inflation and devaluation of currency that's the problem. But that's a different conversation. And then finally towards the bottom is our municipal insurance for all of our property and liability insurances.
We got all the properties now listed and insured.
In the CIPs, yes, when we get there, they're much more of the breakdown in there. We're still going through the list with the insurance company, and we have some revisions from mostly prior, and then some from PW equipment. We no longer have equipment we do have, and we're updating some. Again, with the new cruiser, we have to get added on there. I don't believe we've added it to the sheet as well, but we are demonstrating what those are more. So traditionally, what we've done in the past is run kind of by department in general, like a vehicle CIP. Now when you go to the CIP list, you'll see all of the vehicles that we do have, or all of the larger expense handheld equipment, or all the air packs. Fire department and PW, you can see it more so, as well as the building reserves, so that we can demonstrate that we have the stated value of, say, the fire department building itself, we have that value in there, we can kind of see what it is, total value-wise, that we are insuring as assets for the town. I still think we're argumentatively under investing in the buildings and the CIP side for buildings, but we're also on a restructure and a replanning year. If we are potentially not looking at keeping this building or the one next door, then outside of general maintenance, CIPing for that may not make sense. CIPing for potential down payment on new facilities may make sense, but those are future conversations.
You had mentioned at the last meeting, the town is in the process of filling vacancies for different departments. If you do hire, or eventually if you don't hire to fill those vacancies, would that have an impact on these numbers? Or would there be any significant change or additions?
It would not change it in the proposed budget that we have starting July 1 unless we don't have those positions filled. Really hopeful we get them filled before July. In this year's budget, and yes, for the vacancies, some of those are causing savings for us in the current fiscal year. That will be revenue that is dropped to the general fund, anything that we don't expend from those departments. And then on next year's budget cycle, we could potentially, or we would have any of those extra funds from fund balance to be able to offset the budget cycle going forward. Next is animal control. That is a contracted service we have, both with Responsible Pet Care in Norway, who take all of our strays, and then our animal control officer.
How often do we use this service? Just curious. On average,
We get the reports every month, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
A lot of the calls we ever get, they go straight to dispatch, so we don't know about them, but the ones that we do know about, he generally will always respond, or if because he does a lot of different communities. If he's tied up in another community, we'll respond, and then he'll come down as soon as he's clear, but he's always done great for us. Like anybody, we get complaints about him every now and again, but whenever I've called him and asked for his help on anything, he's always there, he's always doing his job.
So we do use them.
Oh yeah, we use them plenty, and the rate we pay is a darn good rate now.
And I think specifically for the situation, animal control can't solve every problem or every crowing rooster or concern, so people do complain, but he can't fix everything.
It'd be interesting to see how many incidences there are, doing through the year, if it's possible to find that.
Yeah. In the council packet every month, he does give us a report where he fills out how many cats, foxes, dogs, snakes that he kind of responds to. I think I saw a snake. Well, we had cattle. We had the chicken ones. Yeah, the pig one was a unfortunate one. But yes, those reports are in the council's packet every month. And I don't know if he aggregates it. Yep. Yeah, so he is doing, he follows up with them in person. So we give him a list of the people who haven't come back to relicense their dogs, and he actually goes out after them. Enforces the dog licensure. God, what else does he do?
Including this budget also is actually our fee for the animal shelter as well, for the strays that get taken there, that they take in from town.
And I'm going to stay pretty still. And to be honest, the last two on the list for today were dispatcher and EMA, which again we have broken out. EMA landed in the fire rescue budget. It's a $1,000 stipend for our EMA director, who is the prime contact to dovetail with Androscoggin Emergency Management. And dispatch, which is very neatly broken up between PD and fire based on our PSAP contract for 911 and dispatching. A certain portion of it, the police pays for their dispatching, and then the fire pays for their dispatching. And if we wanted to cross an extra one off the list, today we could go over county tax, which is the last one. And this is our portion of the Androscoggin County tax, so there was a $22,887 increase in this year's budget there.
We don't get to say we don't want to pay that, right?
People have done it in the past, and then the county says they will lien every property in the municipality, which is probably a big gamble because Androscoggin likes their legal fees. I'm
Why?
joking.
Why do you want to pay?
Why we have to pay?
What does the county do for you?
So the county covers the jail, it covers the sheriff's department, it covers the DA's office,
Oh, okay.
it covers in emergency management.
Well, that makes sense.
So instead of taxing the property owners directly, all of the towns, I don't remember how they proportion it out for the 16 towns, but they essentially tax the town, so we just have to turn around and tax. It's a
Okay.
one-way street.
I think we should back charge them for every time one of our police officers goes to court.
I had the same idea. Didn't go very
I
far.
think the chief may agree with me on
I thought you were gonna say, well, every time we back them up, I was gonna say, oh, no.
No,
They
no,
come
no,
here and help us
no,
out,
no,
play,
I-
but yeah, that's one thing I'm in 100% agreement with you.
that. That was a new one that was pushed on us last year, wasn't it?
And that was kind of sprung on the county within the budget process as well. The DA made the call that the DA's office was not going to be the prime representative enforcing traffic violations. So any speeding infraction or ticket that our staff writes, they now have to go and be the prosecuting attorney because the DA's office can't afford to have their specialists prosecute it for them. So we have our patrol officers acting as attorneys on every ticket that they write. Not incredibly popular, but it is a time suck, and that is the downside, because these are also people who are on 12-hour shifts, and then they still have to, if any point their ticket is called and someone shows up to contest it, they have to be there. But that's only really if someone shows up. Now they have to be there in case someone shows up. So they have to be there regardless. It used to be they'd only have to go into court if someone showed up to contest one of their tickets. It's
Do you get paid for that, or do you do that on a free time?
They do it on their overtime.
Yeah, it has, I have to pay them, I can't ask them to go into court and not.
Oh, yeah.
And it's also outside of their regular work, so they've already done their full workload before traffic court comes up. So it is something that we have shouldered since last year, and I don't see it changing.
It's a win for the county, and it's a win for the state. Because the state gets the ticket, and the county gets the free service of our police officers.
And we get nothing.
And we get
If you write
absolutely
a
zero.
speeding ticket, you don't get any of that money
No,
back?
that all goes to the state general fund. I kind of get it, it's kind of that old Dukes of Hazzard thing, because if we're getting the money and I'm feeling I want like a second new cruiser this year,
So
we're
you
gonna go out
use
there and buy
tickets.
150,000 tickets and I'll have a new car.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of like an unfair thing, and I get it, but it would be nice if we got a portion of it.
Yeah.
But they actually claim we get a portion of it by reduced fees at the academy and stuff like that, because that's where a lot of that money goes.
The downside is though, there's no incentive for you to catch speeders.
Well, no, but our guys know their job and they do their job. There's no such thing as quotas. But if I have a guy that works for 6 months and doesn't write a single ticket, there's a problem. Because you can go out right on Lewiston Street here, write a book a day if you have the time to do it. So, and, I mean, everybody does a good job. Young guys write more than old guys.
So that's what we had in store for today. If you are all comfortable with that, we will make those changes. We have very kind of few changes that we will draft before the next meeting. And next meeting we'll have presentations from fire, PD, public works, and transfer. Rescue is on the list still, but we don't have a rescue budget anymore. Last year it was consolidated with fire rescue. So we'll only have those 4 next week, and those will be the 4 fun ones. And at the end of that meeting, we will have to go back through all of them, by budget committee, by council, to make motions to pass the individual final, just bottom line department numbers, and that would be the end of that process. Any questions?
Any questions?
Thank you, Chair. Council good?
We have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Unanimous.